Hello friends, Mandar here. I'm back with another video. Today we are going to talk about Form I-944, which is Declaration of Self Sufficiency. So if you're interested in this topic, please stick around until the end and let's get started. If you are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Mandar and I make immigration related videos for US and Canada. I'm not an immigration lawyer, so anything that I say on this video or my channel is for information purpose only. And for your personal immigration needs, you should hire a competent immigration attorney. And if you like this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Now back on September 22nd, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, reinstated the Form I-944, which is Declaration of Self Sufficiency. What that means is they want to make sure that any immigrant that becomes a green card holder or a permanent resident of United States should be self-sufficient. Now here's the important thing to note. The agency also stated that anybody who applied for a green card 485 application going back to February of 2020 may also need to submit this form at some point. They may issue an RFE for doing so. Now note that the federal judge has still blocked the use of this form from outside of United States. So anybody who is applying from outside of United States does not need to fill this form because it's blocked by a federal judge. I'll update this video if there is any modification to it, but as of now that is what I know. Now this is also called the public charge rule. The new would-be immigrant would need to provide a substantial amount of documentation proving now they will be able to support themselves and their family financially after they become the permanent resident. Now how do they do that? Through a series of documentation that the DHS will expect the applicant to provide as part of this I-944 application. So we are going to go into the actual form towards the end of this video, but I just wanted to cover some aspects on who should file this form, when should it be filed, and things like that. So let's dig into it. Now I-944 is a form used by a green card applicant in their final stage of green card to prove that they are able to support themselves after they become a green card holder or permanent resident. So they will be required to provide their financial information, their job information, their salary, and all those sort of things that will prove that they will be able to support them financially. It was implemented as part of this overhaul of the current administration public charge rule. Now the goal of this application is also to determine whether an individual has used any sort of public financing or public charge for more than 12 months in a 36 months period. So it could mean that the person may have used this public charge continuous 12 months, or even they may have broken them into like 3 instances of 4 months or 4 instances of 3 months. They will still consider them as aggregate 12 months within the last 3 years. Now it also suggests they will look at the totality of this situation. So basically, if you are sponsoring yourself for your medical, that will be treated as a positive. If you have used food stamps, that will be treated as negative. So there will be positive factors and negative factors, and they will decide it collectively how likely are you to become a public charge after you become a permanent resident. Now there are some factors that will be heavily weighed, some other factors that are lightly weighed. So it is very important to make sure that you fill this form accurately so that you represent your financial situation in a most accurate way. Now I highly suggest that you should use an immigration lawyer while filling out this form, because they will know which factors are going to count towards you or against you. Now again, as I said before, if you are filing from outside of the United States in a consular processing, this form is not mandatory, but the consular officer will still look at your application and determine if you are likely to become a public charge. Now let's look at this form first. I'll go through different sections and tell you what they are about. And then we'll also look at some general concepts which we'll go through and determine what are the factors that are favorable to you and what are the factors that are unfavorable to you, so that we can be very sure when you are filling out this form for yourself. Now here is the form of Declaration of Self Sufficiency, which is Form I-944. This is the latest version of the form, which expires the end of next year. So now, as you can see at the top, this is for your attorney or representative to fill. But what you fill out starting part 1. So as again, your family name, given name, your US mailing address, your alien registration number, USCIS number, date of birth, place of birth, those sort of things. So these are pretty standard, self-explanatory. The second one is part 2, family status. Now this will ask you for your household information in terms of, again, your name, your family's name, all that information. It is pretty standard PII information, personal information that you will need to fill for each household member that is included in your application. Now here is the important part 3. You and your household members' assets, resources, and financial status. Now you need to be very careful filling out this form. What the point of this form is for you to be able to establish that you are not going to be a public charge after you become a permanent resident. So if you can demonstrate your income, your assets, your resources, and financial status, this information will play for you, and these factors are going to be positively impacting your application. As you can see, it asks you for tax information. So if you have filed taxes in the past, that is very important to show that you had income, you had job, and based upon which you had paid taxes to the US government, and that will be considered positive for you. Now you can do so for each of your family members as well. As you collect more and more income information on this form, that becomes a positive for you. Now here there is asset information, type of asset, and total amount in US dollars. So if you have assets in your home country, you'll need to convert that home country currency to US dollars. Here are the liabilities and debts. So now here you have to be very careful, because if you have a car loan or a mortgage, you need to specify it here. If you are living in the United States and if you have car loan or any other kind of loan, it is very easy for them to find this information out about you. It can be obtained from your credit report, your financial institutions. There are various different ways DHS or USCIS will be able to find this information out for you. So you have to be very truthful when you are providing these liabilities and debts mentioned here. So now some people ask, is having a mortgage or a car loan a bad thing? In my opinion, it is not a bad thing. It shows that you have capability to pay the down payment and you are able to pay the monthly payments for the mortgage and any kind of loans that you have. If you can demonstrate that in your tax returns or in your credit history, or you can have your statements showing that you have been paying these mortgage and car loans on time every month over month, then that can be considered as positive for you. Now be careful, if you have a lien or a debt that you weren't able to pay, or if you have been defaulted upon, that could be considered as negative against you. So mortgage in itself is not a negative thing, or having a mortgage or having a car loan in itself is not a negative thing. But if you haven't made the payment and if you have defaulted on them, then that could be considered negative. They also ask for your permission to pull your credit history report, which is what I was talking before, that there are ways where they will be able to figure out how much loan or credit card balances or mortgages or loans you have. So you should be very thorough in filling out this information. Now it clearly asks you if you have ever filed for bankruptcy in the United States. Be truthful, provide all the right information. Here is another question that I usually get. If I get health insurance through Obamacare or Health Connector, is that considered a public charge? So now here's the thing. If you are getting a subsidized health insurance, which is something that government contributes a part of your payment for your health insurance, then that could be considered as negative. But if you are paying a market rate premium for your health insurance, then it is not a negative. It is actually a positive in your case. Even if you get your insurance from Health Connector and you are paying full premium without any subsidy by the government, then that is a positive on your case. So this is one of the most commonly asked questions. Now here are other things that you need to also be very careful about. Public benefits. So have you ever received or are certified to receive any future public benefits? Now you have to be very careful what you select here. Some are federal benefits, some are Medicaid benefits, some are general assistance. There are a lot of different things that are mentioned here, and these could go against you. So you have to be very careful what you check here. Consult with an attorney or a lawyer if you don't understand each of these things. So if you have received any kind of these above listed benefits from the government, then it will ask you for those details on this part 3 section. There are things like, have you been in armed force, reserves, and things like that, and have you received any benefits while you were enrolled into that program. Now in part 4, you will need to explain your educational skills and benefits. So now this portion is also very important. The higher the education that you have, it will count towards your application. It will count as positive for your application. So here you want to be truthful. If you have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or a PhD, you want to list them out, because that will give confidence to the visa officer that having an education or a higher degree will help this individual to get a job in the United States, and that is very important. Now some of the key things that, as I mentioned, having a medical insurance is positive, but how you pay for the premium actually determines whether it's positive or negative. If you get subsidized medical insurance, then that could be held negative against you. But if you are paying for the full market rate premium, then that is a positive for you. Having a mortgage is also positive or a negative in the sense, if it is government assisted mortgage, that is government is paying for subsidy of your mortgage, then that could be held negative. But if you are paying for the full premium month after month without any defaults, then that is positive on your case. Another thing is your income versus liabilities. If you have income, if you have a job, or if you have a steady flow of income coming from any other sources, then that is considered positive for you. But if you have a high level of debt and it is disproportionate to your income, and that could go against you. Remember, a full credit report is drawn on your applicants and each of the applicants that are on your application. So be sure that you have a good credit history that does not show any defaults. And if you have any defaults, make sure you have that discussion with your collection agency to kind of settle it off and remove it from your application, because that could become a negative. If you ever had bankruptcy declared, make sure that is resolved, because anything that is unresolved may raise red flags with the USCIS. Now there are 9 particular benefits or government programs that are specifically mentioned on this form. And I'm going to go through those that are counted positive with you or negative against you, because that will determine whether you are likely to use public charge in the future in the eyes of officer. Now the first 4 that I'm talking about are considered negative factors, even if they are used less than 12 months in the last 3 years. Now if you're using supplemental security insurance, that could be counted negative against you. Now this supplemental securities income is something that is provided by the government for some people who don't have a regular income. Say for instance, if you are disabled, if you are disabled or if you are old age, then those people getting this income could play against them. So work with a lawyer carefully while filling this part out. The another one is temporary assistance to needy family. If your family has applied for food stamps or things like that for assistance, then that could count negative against you. Other is state and local government assistance program. And then the 4th one is institutionalization for long-term care. So if you are in the government benefits program for your institutionalization, that could count against you. The next 5 that I'm talking about are going to be the ones that are going to count for a minimum of 12 months in the last 3 years. Now it's Medicaid, supplemental nutrition, which is also called food stamp, Section 8 housing voucher, Section 8 rental assistance, and public housing. Now these are all the things that would be applicable if you had ever sought assistance from the government to pay for your food or for your housing. Now as I said, mentioning your education will be a very good thing if you have bachelor's, master's or higher degree of education, because even if you don't have a job, this factor will be highly weighted and work for your case, not against. They look at the totality of this application, whether you have income, whether you have a good job, whether you pay for your own insurance, whether you pay regularly for your mortgage and other loans, whether you have high education. All of these factors are going to help your case in Form I-944. So I hope you got some value out of this, because I know a lot of people are filing for their 485, and this is one of the mandatory forms that you have to fill along with your I-485 application, which is adjustment of status. Now since this is also a form of background check, this will take its course, because they have to look at a lot of different aspects of this form to verify the information that you have provided. They have to reach out to a lot of different agencies to verify the data. So we currently don't have an exact time frame how long it takes for this form to be processed, but I could guess anywhere between 6 months to a year, similar to your background check information. Now the last thing is there is no filing fee for this form. Of course, you will have to pay the regular fees for 485 and other forms that you fill along with this, but particularly for Form I-944, there is no separate fee. And I hope I was able to address some of the critical and common questions that I get in the comment section. If you come across any that I have not covered, please be sure to email me or list them in the comment section. If you like this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.